Hey dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with another episode of Makeup and Movies. And the first thing I would like to say is I finally pulled it together enough to use this fabulous marquee that Jenna sent me, well, 100 years ago. Thanks again, Jenna. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to use it. I also want to draw attention to Ladybug, who I'm wearing one of my favorite designs of his. It's my Wilma Girl t-shirt. He designed this off of the Funny Girl poster for the Broadway musical. I love this so much. It is, I think, my favorite Ladybug shirt that I own. But I also want to draw attention to Lars' fabulous design for makeup and movies. Now, I thought I had one. Why wouldn't I? But I don't. So I'm going to have to correct that. But it is available on my Redbubble store. There's a link for that down below, so you can get yourself one. It doesn't have to be on a t-shirt. It can be on almost anything that's available there. Check it out. If you don't see an item you'd like to have it on, message me, and I will make that happen. Now, on to the important things. The makeup that I am using today is the Ladybug Glow Criatura palette. Now, I love this palette, and not because Amanda, the diva behind the brand, sent it to me. Although I'm very grateful that she did. What happened was I was watching an Erica Conger video, and she is a huge fan of this brand. And I've just seen her do some great looks with it. I was always so impressed. And I finally left a little message saying, oh my God, one day when I have money, I'm going to buy something from this company. Because the couple of times that I have gone by when I've had money, they've been sold out of stuff. They're very popular is what I'm saying. I'm going to put a link to them down below in my description box so you can check out their store and what they do have available. But I have to say, this is their latest palette. Let me show you the color story. It is gorgeous. This has all my colors, all my favorite colors. Greens, blues, there's some purple, this pink, shut your face. This row of shimmers. These three are shimmers. And this is a duochrome or a multichrome. This is quite spectacular. It is called Epic, and it is. Let me tell you what. So today, I'm going to give this palette the full tilt boogie. And by full tilt boogie, I mean I'm going to put it on my face. Now, I'm blocked. My eyebrows, I mean, not. Although, no, you don't need to know stuff. I've done my eyebrows already, and I am powdered, and my eyelids are primed with my favorite primer, which is the P. Louise Rivers 00. It's the best one, especially for drag, because it's a white primer. It really allows colors to just happen. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with a big old fluffy brush and this fabulous shade, which is called Phantasm. Is that right? Yep. It's nice minty, turquoisey, pastel-y bit of deliciousness. I'm just going to start shaping out my eye contour with this. Now, this week's movie is the 1983 Star Maker, Trading Places. Now, why Trading Places, you ask? Well, first of all, it's a damn good movie. Second of all, it's funny as hell, it's brilliantly written, and part of our cultural zeitgeist. Seriously. Actually, what it was when Jamie Lee Curtis won her Best Supporting Oscar for Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, I started thinking about all the great movies she's been in, and there's a lot. And then I should review one. But which one? There's that remake of Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan. Now, if that doesn't make you worthy of an Oscar, I don't know what is, seriously. One of my favorites was True Lies. She was a hoot in that. But when she did that striptease, tell me that wasn't worthy of an Oscar. Seriously. There's Knives Out, A Fish Called Wanda, the Halloween franchise. But it was Trading Places that changed her career and image forever. Curtis and Aykroyd must have got along during filming because they went on to work together again in both My Girl movies and Christmas with the Cranks. Trading Places was released June 1983, even though it takes place between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve. It's one of the reasons why it's considered one of the best Christmas films ever made, even with the criticism of its use of racial jokes and language. I mean, come on. Dan Aykroyd did blackface in this movie, dolls. Of course, Dan Aykroyd wouldn't do it today. It was something that he and Eddie Murphy improvised, and both actors felt it was a good comic beat that was truthful to the story. Okay, now I'm going to take a less than fluffy brush, and I'm going to go into Monster, which is this beautiful, bright robin's egg blue, we're going to call it, I guess. Just going to start darkening up the outer corner. Trading Places was directed by the legendary John Landis. It was his 7th film and followed such box office successes as Animal House, The Blues Brothers, and An American Werewolf in London. Of course, John Landis went on to direct other classics like Clue, Coming to America, and let's not forget Michael Jackson's Thriller. Trading Places was originally written for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder under the working title Black and White. Although John Landis disliked the working title, he liked how the script reminded him of classic screwball comedies of the 1930s by directors like Frank Capra. Known for his signature use of the line, "See you next Wednesday," John Landis's famous phrase appears at around the 1 hour and 10-minute mark on a poster in Jamie Lee Curtis's character Ophelia's apartment. The poster is actually William Wyler's Wuthering Heights from 1939, starring Laurence Olivier and Merle Oberon. The screenplay was written by Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod, who went on to write such films as Brewster's Millions, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and Space Jam. The pair also produced Joel Schumacher's 1993 film Falling Down, starring Michael Douglas. I mean, seriously, have you seen Falling Down? It is such a good movie. And I'm not even a big fan of Michael Douglas, seriously. Now, I'm going to grab a little, this is kind of more of a, this is a P. Louise brush number, I don't know why I can never read them, 334. It's a thick pencil brush. And I'm going to go into Critter, which is this gorgeous navy, and I'm going to continue building up the outer corner and my crease with this. Timothy Harris was originally inspired to write Trading Places by a pair of wealthy doctor brothers. Harris thought that they were just awful people, but they gave him the idea of two brothers getting over nature versus nurture in terms of human ability, and a script was born. Harris and Weingrod researched the commodities market for the script, specifically the Russian attempts to corner the wheat market and the Hunt brothers' efforts to corner the silver market on what became known as Silver Thursday. They determined that the commodities market would make for an interesting setting for a film as long as it was not about the financial market itself. They just needed something to draw the audience in. Harris consulted with people in the commodities business to understand how the film's finale on the trading floor would work. John Landis admitted that it also took him a while to figure out how Trading Places' finale worked. Hell, I still don't know how the ending works. Now I'm going back into Monster with the same brush that I used for Monster, and I'm just going to blend out Critter. I'm sorry, but these are blending so beautifully I could just puke. I'm sorry. They're just so gorgeous. Of course, the success of their script elevated Harris and Weingrod's prominence as writers. However, they later sued Trading Places producer Aaron Russo for an agreed-upon 0.5% of the producer profit share, estimated to be worth about $150,000. The outcome of this lawsuit is still unknown. I mean, I guess the lesson here is don't piss off the writers. Good to know. All right, I think this is blended pretty good for now. I'm going to go ahead and cut my crease, which I'm going to do with my P. Louise Rumors 00. Principal photography started in December 1982 and wrapped in March 1983 and was shot primarily on location in Philadelphia with a side trip to New York City and the Virgin Islands. Well, they had to shoot the ending somewhere. Trading Places was considered a box office success right out of the gate, earning over $90 million its opening weekend, and became the 4th highest grossing film of 1983 in the United States and Canada. In 2010, the film was referenced in congressional testimony concerning the reform of the commodities trading market designed to prevent the insider trading demonstrated in Trading Places. Okay, now I'm going to grab this Docolor fluffy brush, and I'm going to go into this shade, which is spelled I-U-D-G-E. Huge. It looks like Ludge, but all the other names are capitalized, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's Ludge. And I'm going to start putting this on my crease, on my lid. Now, what's it all about, you ask yourself? Well, it's about wealthy brothers Randolph and Mortimer Duke, owners of a commodities brokerage firm in Philadelphia. Holding opposite views on the issue of nature versus nurture, they make a wager and agree to conduct an experiment. switching the lives of two people on opposite sides of the social tracks and observing the results. They witness an encounter between their managing director, the yuppie, Louis Winthorpe III, fiancé to the Duke's grandniece, Penelope Witherspoon, and poor street hustler, Billy Ray Valentine, who is arrested at Winthorpe's insistence after he thinks Billy Ray tried to rob him. The Dukes use them for their experiment. They get their henchman, Clarence Beeks, to frame Winthorpe as a thief, drug dealer, and pimp. You know, the huge. He's fired from the Duke's firm, his bank accounts are frozen, he's kicked out of the Duke-owned home he lives in, and shunned by Penelope and her friends. The only person who's willing to help Winthorpe is Ophelia, a prostitute who only helps on the condition that she's paid enough to retire from the business of prostitution. Meanwhile, the Dukes post bail for Valentine, give him Winthorpe's former job and home, and surprisingly, Valentine does well in finance. He uses his street smarts to achieve success and begins to improve his image and his ways. During the firm's Christmas party, in an attempt to ruin Valentine's reputation, Winthorpe plants drugs in his desk, and when he's caught, Winthorpe brandishes a gun to escape. Hearing this news, the Dukes claim their experiment over and settle their $1 wager. Of course, they plan to return Valentine to the streets, but they have no interest in clearing Winthorpe whatsoever and taking him back. Valentine, who was in one of the bathroom stalls, overhears all this. He immediately goes in search of Winthorpe, who has attempted suicide by overdosing. Valentine, Ophelia, and Winthorpe's butler, Coleman, nurse him back to health and inform him of the Duke's experiment. While Winthorpe watches the news, he sees Beeks transporting a secret United States Department of Agriculture report on orange crop forecasts. Valentine remembers large payments made to Beeks by the Dukes, and they both realize the Dukes will obtain the report early to corner the market on frozen concentrated orange juice. Okay, now I'm going to take another fluffy-ish pencil brush, and I am going to go into Swamp, which is the very, very dark green, and I'm just going to deepen the outer V and accent my crease. You heard me. On New Year's Eve, Winthorpe, Valentine, Ophelia, and Coleman board Beeks' train in disguise with the intention of switching the original report with a forgery that predicts low orange crop yields. Beeks isn't fooled and attempts to kill them, but is knocked unconscious by a gorilla that's being transported on the train. Like you do. They disguise Beeks in a gorilla costume and put him in the cage with the real gorilla. The group deliver the forged reports to the Dukes in Beeks' place, and then Valentine and Winthorpe travel to New York City with Coleman's and Ophelia's life savings to carry out their plan. On the commodities trading floor, the Dukes commit their holdings to buying frozen concentrated orange juice futures contracts. Other traders follow their lead, driving the price up. But once the trading floor hears a broadcast of the actual crop report predicting a normal harvest, the price of juice futures plummets. As the traders panic and sell their futures, Valentine and Winthorpe buy at the lowest price and turn a huge profit. After the closing bell, Valentine and Winthorpe explain to the Dukes that they made a wager on whether they could get rich and make the Dukes poor at the same time, and Winthorpe pays Valentine $1. When the Dukes prove unable to pay the $394 million required to satisfy their margin call, the exchange manager orders their seats sold and their corporate and personal assets confiscated, effectively bankrupting them. Randolph collapses, holding his chest, as Mortimer demands the floor be reopened so that they can recoup their losses. Cut to the now wealthy Valentine, Winthorpe, Ophelia, and Coleman vacationing on a luxurious tropical beach, while Beeks and the gorilla are loaded onto a ship bound for Africa. Cut, print, standing ovations all around, and there was great rejoicing. Now, I'm just going to take some BH Cosmetics eyeshadow booster. It's also a glitter glue type thing. I'm just going to start in the inner corner of my eye. I'm just going to add this in here because right over top of it, I am going to put in on top of it Epic. It'll be fantastic. I'm also going to use this flat brush from P. Louise. First of all, I love P. Louise brushes. I think they're so great. Anytime I get one, I'm thrilled. A couple times they've been in either mystery boxes or um, the advent calendar had a set. Oh, just love it. They're some of my favorite brushes. They're not the only ones I use, but there's some of my favorite. But the one thing I like about these brushes is that they're really great at putting on shimmers and multi-chromes because I find I don't like to put them on with a finger. I just don't. First of all, I have huge fingers, so I often miss the mark or overshoot it. But I feel with the P. Louise brushes, because they're flat, you actually get that same kind of effect as a silicone brush or a fingertip. So I'm just going to throw this on in here. Dan Aykroyd was cast as Louis Winthorpe III and did a brilliant job, much to the surprise of the producers at Paramount. They felt Aykroyd as one of SNL's original not ready for primetime players, and the other half of the Blues Brothers with John Belushi in 1980 wasn't capable of carrying a movie on his own. They felt his work with Belushi cast him as a second banana and wanted Dudley Moore for the part. But John Landis saw his potential from their work together on the Blues Brothers and fought to cast him. Good thing, too, because Dan Aykroyd went on to write and star in Ghostbusters in 1984, among other films, and did really well in dramas like My Girl in 91, Chaplin in 92, and he was also nominated for Best Supporting Oscar Actor for Driving Miss Daisy in 1989. Who knew? So now I'm going to take the same brush that I put Epic on. I'm going to use the other side of it. I'm going to go into Whimsical, which I thought was just a shimmer, but it's got a green shift to it. So I'm going to use that just on the outer edge of my eye. And instead of using the glue, I'm just going to spray it. I'm using Maybelline. Eddie Murphy almost wasn't cast in this film either. The role of Billy Ray Valentine, a street beggar and con man, was originally written for Richard Pryor, but due to Pryor's severe injuries after setting fire to himself while freebasing cocaine, he clearly wasn't available for the project. Paramount Pictures suggested Eddie Murphy, even though he was still a relative unknown. He just finished his first movie, 48 Hours, and it hadn't been released yet. Coincidentally, Eddie's role in that film was meant to star Richard Pryor as well. Initially, Paramount wasn't too thrilled by Eddie Murphy's performance in 48 Hours, but it tested well with preview audiences, and the studio changed its mind. Originally, Landis had no idea who Eddie Murphy was, even though he had been gaining popularity as a performer on Saturday Night Live. But after watching Eddie's audition tapes, John Landis liked what he saw and traveled to New York City to meet with him. One of Eddie's requests was that Gene Wilder be replaced because he didn't want people thinking he was trying to be another Richard Pryor. Well, that makes sense, but that must have been a kick in the hoolies for Mr. Wilder. I'm now going to spray a very fine angled liner brush. I just want to get some moisture on it, and then I'm going to go back into Swamp with it. I'm just dragging the brush across it. I'm trying to pick up all the loose powder that's on that palette. I want to say this palette has some kick up, but I have no fallout on my face, which is good because I forgot to put my bake down. So now, with that, I'm going to do a liner line under my eye. The release of 48 Hours, Trading Places, and Beverly Hills Cop, all in 1980, set Eddie Murphy up as a movie star with a strong box office draw. Industry experts called Eddie Murphy the biggest box office star after Clint Eastwood. No other African-American actor had achieved a comparable level of success before him. Shortly after Trading Places' release, Paramount Pictures signed Murphy to a $25 million 5-film exclusive contract, one of the biggest deals ever with an actor at the time. Now I'm just going to take a smaller pencil brush. It's not a fine pencil brush, but I'm going to go into Phantasm and a Monster and just blend them on the brush so that I can get a nice even line. I'm just going to build up this under eye, smoke it out. Ralph Bellamy was cast as Randolph Duke, the greedy co-owner of Duke and Duke, alongside his brother Mortimer. He was Landis's first choice for Randolph because of his work in such classics as His Girl Friday in 1940 with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, and Rosemary's Baby in 1968 with Mia Farrow. Ralph went on to co-star in such films as Oh God in 1983 with George Burns and 1990's Pretty Woman with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Don Ameche was cast as Mortimer Duke, Randolph's equally greedy brother, but he wasn't the first choice by far. Landis's first choice was Ray Milland, star of such classics as The Lost Weekend and Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder, but the actor was unable to pass a physical test to qualify for insurance while filming. When Landis asked about Don Ameche, the casting director said that he was dead. Fortunately, one of the Paramount Studio secretaries said that she saw Don Ameche regularly in Santa Monica, California. So Landis called directory assistants to locate D. Ameche, and the rest is history. When asked why it had been so long since his last film over 10 years ago, Ameche said, well, no one had asked. At first, Paramount didn't want to pay Ameche what Milland had been offered, but Ameche refused to take the part until he received equal pay. I mean, seriously, 10 years, people. I think he was due a raise. I'm serious. What's funny, though, is John Landis claimed that the studio reduced the film's budget because of that. Cheap bastards. I'm taking a short, smaller, fluffy brush, and I've gone back into Phantasm, that turquoise, and I'm just blending out. Stealing the show as Winthrop's butler was the venerable Denholm Elliott, star of such classics as The Night They Raided Minsky's in 1968, A Bridge Too Far in 1977, and 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Denholm went on to star in many Ivory and Merchant films like Room with a View in 85 and Maurice in 87. Now, normally I would do my contour and blush and everything, but I'm actually going to, because I'm still using the Criatura palette, I'm going to go into this shade Beast. I just love it, and I'm going to use it as a blush, so I think we're just going to test it together. It's quite pigmented. I'm just going to tap a little off. I like to start my blush up high and back and work it forward because it helps with dimension. So that way, even if it's a little deep, it's not going to ruin my makeup. Oh yeah, this is gorgeous. John Gielgud and Ronnie Barker were considered for the role of Winthrop's butler, Coleman. Ronnie Barker refused to act if it involved filming more than 7 miles from his home in the United Kingdom, and John Gielgud just out and out turned it down. I guess he was overplaying butlers. Who wouldn't be? I think this went on really nicely. I was afraid it was going to be very dark, but it's not too bad. I'm now going to use the same brush, just the edge of it though, and I'm going to go into Criatura, the signature shade from this, just ever so slightly. I just want to contour my blush a little. I always use more than one blush when I'm using blush because I like to kind of create the dimension of cheekbones because I don't have them. Jamie Lee Curtis was cast as Ophelia the prostitute who helps Winthrop in his hour of need. The studio also had a problem with John Landis wanting to cast Jamie Lee Curtis because, well, she'd only done horror movies. Fortunately, John Landis was a huge fan of horror and had done a documentary on the genre which Jamie Lee had narrated. Also, Jamie Lee didn't want to be typecast, so she was looking to move away from horror films. She had even turned down a role in the horror film Psycho 2 in 1983 because of this. Although, I have to admit, it would have been cool to see her in the sequel to her mother Janet Leigh's original 1960 classic. Curtis had just filmed the 1981 Halloween sequel, Halloween 2, for $1 million, but received only $70,000 for Trading Places. There were only 2 problems for Jamie Lee in doing this film. Her breasts. There, I said it. Her gorgeous, gorgeous breasts. Although she knew the part of Ophelia required her to take off her dress, she admitted that she didn't like doing it and was embarrassed. But she also admitted that she knew what she was doing and thought she looked okay doing it. Jamie Lee Curtis's sister Kelly has a small part in this movie. She plays the debutante Muffy, serenaded with several other girls by the rich boys in the scene where Winthrop is begging for his friend's reacceptance. Her future brother-in-law, Nicholas Guest, also appears as Winthrop's friend, Harry. At the time, Curtis was engaged to Marlene Dietrich's grandson, production designer J. Michael Riva, and during the film stayed at the Legends Park Avenue apartment. Although it's not clear if Marlene was there at the time or somewhere else because she wanted to be alone. And now I'm just going to go in with all the different brushes that I have different colors on and just make sure that all of my eyeshadow colors are saturated. TV and film character actor Paul Gleason stars as Clarence Beeks, a security expert covertly working for the Dukes. He is most notably recognized for his role as Vice Principal Richard Vernon in The Breakfast Club in 1985, but started his career as Dr. David Thornton of All My Children from 76 to 78. He was also Police Chief Dwayne T. Robinson in Die Hard. G. Gordon Liddy, a central figure in the Watergate political scandal of the early 70s, was offered the role of Beeks first, but when Liddy learned that his character becomes the romantic partner of a gorilla, he, pardon the pun, backed out. You see what I did there? I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's probably why we see Paul Gleason reading a copy of Liddy's autobiography, Will, while riding the train. Seriously. All right, I'm going to do some eyeliner now. This is my fabulous favorite eyeliner, Black Radiance. I think I'm running out. Thank God it's not expensive. And finally, Kristen Holby, a burgeoning actress and model best known for her work with such houses as Yves Saint Laurent, Givenchy, Chanel, Shiseido, names, sweetie, names, was cast as Penelope Witherspoon, the Duke's grandniece and Winthorpe's fiancée. The film has numerous cameos, including singer Bo Diddley as a pawnbroker, Muppets puppeteer Frank Oz as a police officer, and Richard Hunt as Wilson, the Duke's broker on the trading floor, Aykroyd's former Saturday Night Live colleagues Tom Davis and Al Franken as train baggage handlers, although the baggage handlers were originally supposed to be played by SCTV's Bob and Doug McKenzie, but that fell through. Newcomer Jim Belushi also is in this as Harvey, a New Year's Eve partier wearing a gorilla suit. At the 5-minute mark, executive producer George Folsey Jr. appears as the first man to greet Winthorpe at Duke and Duke. Dan Aykroyd refers to him by his real name with the line, "Morning, Folsey!" Arlene Sorkin does her best Marilyn Monroe as she exits Valentine's house party. A young Edie Falco appears as a bus passenger looking disgusted at Winthorpe as he bites into a salmon he lifted from the firm's Christmas party. And Giancarlo Esposito, a Breaking Bad fan, can be seen in the police holding cell alongside Eddie Murphy. Even director John Landis can be seen around the 25-minute mark as one of the 3 men in trench coats at the steps of the precinct when Valentine is released from jail. As I said, this film was responsible for launching, changing, or even relaunching the careers of many of its stars. Of course, Eddie Murphy's success was significant. He rose from a TV comedian to superstar with 2 of the most successful films of the year. Dan Aykroyd's acting career had slumped due to studio execs being hesitant to cast him following John Belushi's death because they saw him only as Belushi's sidekick. John Landis claims they compared it to Abbott without Costello, and he didn't prove them wrong with his first solo starring vehicle, Dr. Detroit, either. It debuted to terrible reviews. Luckily, nobody remembers because weeks later, Trading Places premiered and all was forgiven. Then, his 1984 film Ghostbusters proved he could play off other actors and secured his career ever since. As I said before, Jamie Lee Curtis's career was quickly setting her up as the queen of B-horror films, and she was barely 20 years old. Thankfully, John Landis insisted on her taking the role, and her willingness to take a pay cut to do it were the first steps to a whole new career path. Curtis even said John Landis had single-handedly changed the course of her life by giving her that part. She even impressed John Cleese enough for him to cast her in his 1988 comedy, A Fish Called Wanda. Another big part of that was her haircut. Curtis had long hair when she was cast in Trading Places, but costume designer Deborah Nadelman Landis, John Landis's wife, suggested that she cut her hair short for the film. And a signature look was born. Seriously, Jamie Lee Curtis has rocked that haircut ever since, and it's never out of date. She always looks fantastic. I think it's her cheekbones. As for the script, it underwent minor changes throughout filming. Normally, changes are discussed in advance, but so much of the ad-lib dialogue was considered funny enough to keep, like Valentine comparing Randolph to Randy Jackson of the Jackson 5, and demonstrating his quart of blood technique in jail. Ophelia, pretending to be a European exchange student to fool Beeks, was also improvised. Curtis used a mix of German attire and a Swedish accent because she could not perform a German accent. Mortimer Duke, played by Don Amici, having trouble catching the money clip wasn't supposed to happen that way. But the actor kept going with it and not breaking character, so it was kept in the movie. The climax of the movie, where Valentine and Winthorpe take down the Dukes, was filmed at the COMEX Commodity Exchange inside 4 World Trade Center. It was scheduled to take place during a weekday, but the film star's presence distracted the traders, and over $6 billion of trading had to be halted. Understandably, filming was rescheduled for the weekend, but they still used actual traders along with some extras. Amici was opposed to using foul language and often apologized in advance to his crewmates for what he was scripted to say. He only performed one take of the final scene where he shouts, "F him!" referring to his ailing brother Randall. I've lined my lips in MAC Beat. This is my favorite lip liner. I love it. I have the worst time drawing my lips on. I always feel like I look like Big Gay Al from South Park. What's up, little pup? Anyway, anyway, I love this color, but I want it to be a little darker, and I don't really have a darker lip liner. So I'm going to grab a very, very fine pencil brush here, just very small. And I'm going to go into Criatura, that's that gorgeous purple. And just very lightly, I'm going to use this to line my lips a bit more. Now, as you can see, I've kind of shaded. I want an ombre look. I'm going to put a pink in here, but I want to ombre it a little more. So I'm just using this on the outside edges. See how that starts to darken it up? The final scene of the main character celebrating on the beach was filmed in St. Croix Island in the United States Virgin Islands, March 1st, 1983, after 78 days of filming. While the film never claimed the #1 box office spot, it spent 17 straight weeks among the top 10 highest grossing films of that year. By September, it was the 4th highest grossing film of the year with $80 million behind Paramount Studios' surprise hit Flashdance, which had earned 90. The comedy drama Terms of Endearment at 108, and Return of the Jedi with a whopping $309 million. Ugh. A shaky musical adaptation of Trading Places, with the part of Billy Ray Valentine being rewritten as a woman, debuted at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, Georgia on June 4th, 2022, to very mixed reviews. It looks like it couldn't live up to the expectations set by the original film, and it didn't transfer to Broadway. So that's the lips done. I used Trixie's Stacy for the middle, and once I put the lipstick on, I went back in with the brush and just blended that purple out. I don't like a hard lip line, and if you go too dark with it and don't blend it, it can look like you got your lips stuck in a pool drain. Now, if that's the look you're going for, have at, but that is not what I'm reaching for. All right, so now I am going to finish my face with a little contour, eyelashes, and a wig, and change my chemise, and I'll be right back. And there we go. It's amazing what a little eyelash and wig action will do for a look, let me tell you what. Also, the bling. I love this brooch. It's from Alan Anderson. It is my new favorite thing. But there you go. This is the look. Let's talk about the makeup for a minute. Criatura, fantastic palette. It's very versatile. I used half of it. I didn't use the purple as much as I wanted, but I did use the purple and the beast in my blush, and I feel like they blended beautifully. They don't look like they're not meant to be blush. And the blues all blended well together. The greens worked with the blues. Lovely, lovely palette. I want to thank Amanda once again for sending it to me. This is their latest palette at Ladybug Glow. If you don't have it and are interested, I'll put a link to their website down below. I do believe that they still have palettes available, but they are a company that does sell out quickly. So I'm just warning you. I also used on my lips the Epic Shimmer. I just like to put it on. I actually like to use shimmers as lip gloss a lot because as a drag queen, lip gloss just sticks to my wigs. You know, if I have any kind of long hair on and it just sticks to the wig and I don't like it. So A shimmer is a great way to give you that dewy, yummy deliciousness without the sticky quality. But I use this for blush, I use this for lip liner, and I use this for lip gloss. And I am not sorry that I did. Now, let's just talk about Trading Places one more time. Such a great movie. If you have never seen it, what the heck is wrong with you? I know it's available on YouTube. I'll put the link down below, but I'm sure there is some streaming service somewhere that has it in its oeuvre. So do search it out if you haven't seen it, because I think waiting to see it at Christmas this year, as it is aired every year, might be too long to wait. But seriously, it is a fabulous movie. And again, I just want to say Jamie Lee Curtis was my inspiration to review this movie. I love her. I have always loved her. I don't remember a time when I didn't love her. I think the first movie I saw her in was this, because I still have not seen a Halloween movie. I know, can you believe it? I got to try. It's only recently that I started watching horror films at all, but I'm not a big fan of like slasher films, so that's one of the reasons why I've never really seen it, but I should at least watch the first one. But all of the films that Jamie Lee Curtis has been in since, she's good in everything. Even if the film isn't great, perfect, almost perfect. I don't think she is ever a reason why a film does badly, and I can't really think of many films of hers that didn't do well. I love that in Everything Everywhere All at Once that she was almost in every scene as a background player. The whole cast was, but I just love that. I think for somebody who identifies themselves as a nepotism baby, she knows the business. She grew up in the business. She was knee deep in the business before she even started working in it. And she's understood the machine. She knows what's what, how to do it. Her husband is an actor, Christopher Guest, from Spinal Tap fame and Waiting for Guffman and all that. He is a brilliant writer and actor. And I mean, clearly, the industry of Hollywood is not lost on her. And I think as somebody working in its machination, she is one of the best examples of somebody who's given their life to a career. I'm so happy she won an Oscar. I think she should have won one earlier, but I'm hoping it's also not her last. She was just recently in the Haunted Mansion cameo role, which she could have filmed before Everywhere, Everything, All at Once. I don't know. But she's just one of those people who will always pop up. She's currently in, is it Wolf? Is that the name of the series on Netflix? I haven't seen it yet, but she plays the lead character's mom and is apparently just fabulous. Now, to finish off my look, I used the P. Louise Just Roll With It contour palette that was in their advent calendar recently. I also, because I love P. Louise, I also was given some of their magic dust, and I used Twinkle Toes as my highlight. And for my eyebrows, I used a new palette that I was given by fabulous David Burkett, my makeup enabler. This is the Babe, You're a Slice of Perfection. It's a yellow palette. I used all the matte shades in this for my eyebrows, which I think match perfectly with this gorgeous Denise Journeau wig, which, you know, in my signature ginger. Actually, this is a lighter color than normal, and she even said this is a little lighter. I love this color. Woo! Fantastic. So, there you go. Trading Places and Criatura from Ladybug Glow. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do that. Why not? And the best way to help support the Fingerdoo review is to leave a comment and share this video. Let me know, have you seen Trading Places? What's your favorite part about it? What's your favorite Jamie Lee Curtis film? If you haven't seen Trading Places, what the heck is wrong with you? You're probably 18, and that's okay. I don't judge. But also, feel free to share this video with somebody who is a fan of Trading Places, Jamie Lee Curtis, Dan Aykroyd, or Eddie Murphy, because sharing helps my algorithm out. You heard me. If you want to further support the Fingerdoo review, you can leave a tip or do using the YouTube thanks button, which is just located below this screen on this webpage, or down in the description box below. I have a link to my OG PayPal tip or do link. I also have a link to my Redbubble store where you can get your own Lar D'Souza makeup and movies t-shirt or mug or sticker or whatever the hell else you want. And I have a link down below to my Patreon group where the Fingerdoo family meet twice a month for live chats as well as advanced views on videos and such. So, until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and miss me! Mwah! Seriously. Oh, feeling it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.